Right, but then I still have to mark it down. So like, why am I double dipping when I'm trying to teach them to self motivate or self start or whatever the executive functioning goal is. And I'm like, I can change it per student. Like, this is something I can go delete, but I like how this is like all correct, move on to this and then move on to that. The only thing again is that verbiage, which I'm still totally working on the idea of like, are you advanced? Well, then you get to go to here, or like incorrect. So I'm trying to use what did I use? I literally changed it like 3 times of like
what would you,
or I can't remember what I used, but
yeah. So here's what I struggled with that too. Like I didn't want to, and even the above and beyond was bothering me. Like he had, or some of these contracts had. I know I'm like trying to be. I'm like, am I getting super sensitive here or what? But here's what I came up with, and I do not know if this is good, bad, or ugly. So, but I'll throw this out there. I said, ready for more.
Yeah. Oh, I like
and
that.
And then I said, want even more.
Well, yeah, that's why, I mean, so what would you guys use instead
I like challenge.
Enrichment. I like enrichment. Personally, I've used that in the past, but that too can get people, and Kathy will, EM has the word enrichment in it, in our activity. So it's not like, I mean, for teachers, it doesn't tell students this is an enrichment activity. We just give it, it's categorized as right? Our challenge. So those words are used in our curricula. So I have used it with kids. But I tried to move away from that, and I came up with ready for more. All right. I
think where you have the incorrect, I use got it or need review. So it's just more like, I get this. It wasn't
like here you would change, so got it.
Yeah, I'm more, I changed it to like, I can, like, that idea of like, I can teach this skill, or I can explain this skill, or, that idea of like, oh, I'm not sure yet. Just that like idea of like, no, I got this. I understand this question. Like I can teach it, or like.
I think my issue with that is some kids are going to say after they see the answer, oh, yeah. And they're not going to go back and practice when they actually need practice.
Well, that's why we had that rating where it was like I can teach it, I can explain it, I still have some questions, I'm a little lost, or like, wait, what? Like, hold up, I need help.
I know. So when do they know to go to the practice then? What do they have to get on the rating to go to the practice?
Well, that's what it doesn't matter. It's all of it. They have to do at least like X amount of whatever we had assigned. So if they have, I got it, I can teach it, well, then they're going to go to like the spicy, right? So like, that's something that I'm going to hopefully teach at the beginning of the school year and over again, so that it's conditioned in a way, so like they can start self-assessing.
I have no problem with using incorrect. Kids know if it's correct or incorrect. I mean, they're going to look and they're going to grade, they're going to look at their own papers.
But can they explain it and teach it just because they got it correct?
I'm just saying that if they didn't get it, then that's when they go and do this extra work. Is that what you're saying, Jen? So Jen, if you had incorrect and they got it incorrect and they put an X here, then they would go and do this, right?
Yes.
So that's why I don't mind the word incorrect.
Yeah, but I want to know if like I think they should be able to dig deeper.
But,
like,
but what you're doing and what
doesn't
she's
mean
doing are two different things. She's you're right. You can dig deeper, but that's like what you're talking about is a self-assessment. This is like a practice. If you didn't get it right, you're going to go practice here. What you're talking about is they're assessing their level of knowledge.
True. Yeah,
so it's really two different things here.
That's true.
Yeah, mine was like, I think he had a name for it in his book. It was like 117. It was like a test remediation contract or a quiz remediation contract. So it's specifically from. So, but I do think, I know the word incorrect versus correct could be like we were discussing, sensitive. So.
You know what?
Maybe it's something that we have to.
At what point do they learn to like? I mean, they're middle school.
Yeah, is it too hard to put correct and incorrect? I feel so bad about myself instead of like, I just don't know it yet. Like, I don't know. I think it's that mindset of right or wrong, bad, good. I don't know. I feel bad when I get something incorrect versus like, you know what? I just didn't get it yet. correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the
Right,
way.
and I think to that though, I was also thinking going between incorrect from that contract to the I got it or whatever, I need more. I did one on formative assessments. So I changed mine to got it, like you guys have, because that makes sense. I'm still learning. It's part of the lesson that I took this formative. I'm looking at this particular problem, right, to see if I got it or not. Then I need to practice some more. I'm not at the unit test. But at the unit test level, though, I mean, is there something to be said for they need to know if they got it right or not because they got, so is it two different things, one for formative and one for some, I don't know. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, let me jump in just for a second and add one thing. One of the things that we're all fighting is the tendency of all human beings, but especially teenagers, to say, yeah, I got it now, without any real evidence. So if they, for instance, they get something wrong and somebody explains to them how they got it wrong, they say, oh yeah, now I've got it. They have to get used to the idea that to be able to know whether you have it or not, you have to be able to do it independently without any assistance and get it right. Which means there has to be something after they have, after they've been doing some work and they're about to make some choices, there has to be an express question that helps them see, oh, I still need to work on that thing. Because they may very well say, I've got this, I don't need to work on it anymore, and be just wildly inaccurate about that. So that's something that the checker.
But that's when you're saying, Larry, that you're rating them, right? So it's like a self-rating in a way for them to be able to like dig deeper, and not just like a checkbox.
It's a checkup, or it's feedback that tells them how to make their decision. Every decision has to be made based on some information that they've gotten one way or another, either by taking a quiz or doing a one question checkup, or in some way they need information to be able to make a good decision. And so that has to be explicitly given to them in some form or another. If it's a quiz, they know what they got wrong on the quiz. That's the information. If it's not, if they're just doing some work and now they're jumping into a some kind of mini contract, there has to be feedback before every mini contract. There has to be information to help them choose what they need to do.
So like the why behind it, in a way.
Yeah, or just straight ahead knowledge. I know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. You know, there needs to be some way for them to know what they don't know yet, as you put it.
Well, and I think that's what Debbie was trying to articulate. And Debbie, like, let me know if I'm saying this wrong. Like, where do we draw that line of, if this is something where Jennifer made it as like a quiz versus like a lesson, you know, like, are we teaching? I don't know if you can articulate what you stated, Debbie, again.
I think if this is quiz remediation, which I think you said it is, Jen, then if they didn't get it right, if it's incorrect, they have to go and practice this. Right? They might have to practice all three.
So that was, yeah.
They're not assessing themselves on how well they know it. They're what they personally think. It's either they either got it right or wrong. If they got it wrong, you got to go do this now.
Right. That's how this contract was. And so that leads me to like two questions. One, should I have added something like a metacognitive piece? And I asked that. And I think it's really important that they rate themselves, but I ask that only because it is a quiz, or like, I think in your book, Larry, you refer to it as like a test or a quiz remediation contract.
Right.
And I like followed kind of like a very similar outline as to one in your book. Mm-hmm. So that leads to my second question of, for the purpose of this particular contract, does that got it need to be changed to incorrect? Or is there another way to say it? I guess. I don't know. I'm really maybe nitpicky, but.
You got it. If what you want is for them to distinguish between, I see the problem, the dilemma here is you don't want to say you got this wrong, because that, you know,
what if
might hurt their feelings.
Put the word correct, and then if they got it correct, they put an X, they don't have to do it. Then it's the positive form instead of the negative.
Yeah.
So then maybe where it says recommended practice, I just put a note down that says
maybe review.
Only do if, yeah, I don't know.
So you could also
only do if you did not get it correct. I don't know.
Yeah, I had that too, Jen. I feel what you're saying. And like I said, I did for a formative assessment, not a summative at the end of the thing. So I put got it. I had incorrect, I changed it to got it. But then I had to say for practice, if you have an N in the previous column, like I was struggling, like a no, or you didn't get, so I was struggling with that too. So yeah.
But I think that recommended practice, even though they got it right, they might have been taking a guess or something. Maybe they feel they need practice. It's okay for them to do it, even if they got it right. Mm-hmm. If they have to do this, then the I need more, that's fine with me.
Or just,
right. Yeah, I can see that.
Or needs practice. Here are two possibilities. One, add one more sentence of instruction or change the instructions above. Check off the questions that you got right. If you don't check it off, do the recommended practice. That's one way to do it. The other would be to say, instead of correct, say need work, question mark. And if they put a check, then they do that recommended practice. You know.
Okay.
Try stuff. Here's the other thing. Try it one way, see how kids respond, then try it a different way.
Right. And I was,
It's going to evolve over time.
What I do like, Jen, is the quote you put in there.
Yeah. I love little quotes.
Reminder to them.
What was that?
Little reminder.
Yeah, I love little quotes and stuff.
Yeah.
On my middle, like I feel like middle school, they just like eat that stuff up. They love like, I don't know, little things at the bottom. Yeah.
They do in high school too. I used to have a whiteboard up above my in the front of the room, and every day I'd put a quote on. By the way, under tools for teachers at the bottom, there's a collection of, I don't know, 60 or 70 quotes that I've accumulated over time. So if you want to go take a look at that and see if any of those are applicable, have at it, you know. Has everybody been able to present what you wanted to present? Okay. So what is it, 2:07? Holy moly. Okay, so this is going to take longer than I thought. Who still needs to go? No, this is good. This is all good stuff.
This is bringing up good questions. So thank you.
Who still needs to go in your group?
I do.
Okay.
Sonia, yeah.
Okay, so Sonia, how about you go ahead and maybe I'll send a message. We're going to reconvene 2:25 instead. Maybe we'll see if that
okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll try it. We'll try it.
By the way, Jennifer, I need to make you a co-host, and I haven't figured out how to do that while we're in groups. I think I can do that when we resume as a whole group, and after that, you'll be able to record. And if you can remind me in the future, I'll make you a co-host from the beginning, and then you can record at will.
Sure. I'm also happy to just catch her up. You know, I can talk to her.
Yeah, that might be the best, actually.
Okay.
All right. So I've been recording this, by the way, so she'll get at least this much.
Awesome. So, all right. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to leave the room and send a message to everybody. All right. Take care.
Okay. Thanks.
All right.
Did you turn on time? Do you have the alignment on there? I was going to pick 5 so they can, my scale is 1 through 5. So I kind of figured I need to have 5 on there, but to make it very simple for the kids, check. Because when I check their homework, is it turn on time? Did you put your name on it? Is the assignment on there?
Yeah.
Did you show all your work? And did you number your work? I think when they're out of our classroom, I think that's when we can assess time management, because they can go home and not do any of it, or do the work not all completed, all the way, not showing the work, leave things out. But I feel like in the classroom for the time management, if you don't get through those activities, obviously you're not using it correctly. I don't know if that kind of makes sense.
I like that idea of adding that piece to evaluate based off of the checklist. And part of it is being on time, and it's very clear to students.
I like that, except I would take out the bottom part, is too wordy. Basically, I have 5 check boxes, and your homework evaluation, if you only check 4, then that means you're getting only 4 points, where are you, like, just to make it easier for the kids. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So I threw my contract up here because I like finally figured out screen sharing. I don't know what my issue was before.
Yeah, I'm jumping in here for a second. Do you guys still need, how much more time do you need, do you think? How many people have gone? How many people still need?
It's Julia's turn and she's our last one to share.
Okay, so I was suggesting 2:25. That doesn't give you much of a break, but would that be okay to resume at 2:25? It's like 10, what is it?
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Everybody needs more time. All right, and we'll be talking about self-evaluation later on and different modes of that.
Larry, one quick question. It says recording, so is it recording all the sessions or just ours?
It's recording whatever is on my screen. So when I jump into you, I'm recording.
Okay.
Yeah. It turns out I have to learn how to make people co-hosts so that they can record themselves. So anyway, I'll leave you to it. Let's try to resume at 2:25. If you can make that, that'd be great. All right, I'll leave you alone. Go ahead.
No.
But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I will stop sharing. Thank you for your feedback. That was awesome.
Hi,
mine
everybody.
is super duper quick. Can I throw mine up?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. And
Before
Larry, I will.
Let me ask you, do you need more time? Is 2:25 too short?
What time is it?
I think that's too short.
Yeah.
We may need a little more.
Okay.
Mine's really
Also,
short, but
Can I ask Larry a question real quick while he's here?
Yeah.
yeah, and then I'm going to ask him. I'm going to tell him something afterwards, super quick.
Okay, so Ryan.
Really quick. So I was telling them, do you think it's easier to start out with a mini contract for a week or a day? I think I know the answer to that question.
What do you think the answer is?
A week.
No.
Really?
I would start
I'll take
everything as small as possible. If you give them a contract that has 2 things on it, if you got this right, do that. If you got it wrong, do that. You're giving them their first taste of what it's like to actually make a decision on their own, what they're going to work on in class. It may be the first time in their lives that they're actually deciding something like that. So we have to teach them how to do that. And you start out with lots of structure. If you got this right, do that. If you got this wrong, do that. Or if it's a quiz and you're giving them 20 minutes to go over what they got wrong, or maybe a longer period of time. But if you got this wrong, do this thing. If you got this wrong, do that thing. You keep that as simple as possible and you build in complexity over time. 3 weeks or 4 weeks in, you can start doing a week's worth of contract at the same time, in one shot. But I wouldn't start out that way. They're going to be bamboozled by that, I think.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. And Jan, what were you?
I was going to say, I couldn't figure out how to format my thing in Google. And so I didn't even send it in. Should I just email it to you? Because I couldn't, I'll do that because I couldn't figure out how to get it into Google.
Huh.
I mean, it's not hard. I mean, I just have like a table, but I couldn't get it to work in Google.
What are you creating it on?
Well, I can just
Word or Pages?
Oh no, Word.
Okay. And
I mean, I can make it into a PDF.
You
or
could
do that. I mean,
if you drag that into the drive, into that.
Can I do that? I can make it into a PDF and then drag it in?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then I'll do that.
That's what I did with mine, Ann.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Because I was like, why do I want to create it in Google? And how come I can't? And then, I just gave up and then kept it in Word. Okay, I'll PDF it and throw it in there.
Okay, and I'm gonna change it to 2:30 for everybody. So I'll just sit in while you do your thing, Ann, and I'm gonna.
Okay, mine's. Oops, I was clicking.
Okay, Larry. One more thing.
Yeah.
I have to leave.
Oh,
I have to leave
right.
at 3:30 today because I have to take my son to a baseball game.
Right.
Just so you know.
Just whatever you got to do.
Okay, so here's mine. It's super quick if I can find it. Share. Okie doke. So I'm back in where am I? How do I do this? I'm back in 6th grade. I haven't been there for ages, so I'm not doing Desmos. And like this was something I found like ages ago. that I think was in the curriculum, and I hope it's still there. Anyways, so basically it's on factors and multiples. And I'm guessing this would be I forgot which it was called, maybe the remediation one that we did. So basically what I did was the directions, I had them do the checkup's down here. The answers will be on the back. And then once they figure out what their answers were, then they go on. So they've got just a little teeny checkup. It's going to be really short. So they have to write the factors, they have to write the multiples. Yeah. So then what I did was I gave the answers, and I gave all the factors of the numbers. I gave the multiples. And then here are the directions. If they missed, here I'm pointing at the screen, you can't see. If they missed the factors, it says practice of factors on the next page. I'll get there. If they missed the multiples, they got the multiples on the next page. And then this would be the part, if they got everything right, this would be like, what are people calling the extension or the enrichment? So I got 2 story problems. One you solve using factors, one you solve using multiples. And then for the factors, for doing the factors, and of course I'm coming at this kind of like a special ed lens, I kind of gave them a little example of what they needed to think about when they were doing the factors. And this would be the way, I'm assuming, it was taught in the classroom, how you get one of each, and they would think 1 times 12. And then I gave a little hint of like how many numbers there should be when they do 24, and how many there should be doing 35 and 17. And then I did the multiples, a little clue of what they needed to think about when they did that, hopefully mirroring what they learned in class. And that's the whole thing. So mine's really short. It's not pretty compared to the other ones, but that's what I got.
I like that it's a kind of brief way of introducing them to choosing, you know, based on how they're
I just tried to make it as basic as possible, because I know how confused my 7th graders got. And so I just tried to make it as watered down as possible. Cause I mean, I figured 6th graders are going to be more needy than the 7th graders I had this year, and they were pretty needy. So yeah, so that's, that's what I got.
Okay.
Okie doke.
So actually, Anne, can you go up to the top again? Let me just take a quick look at the whole thing. Right. Yeah, scroll down just a little bit then.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, a checkup, in general, a checkup should be made as simple as possible. If you think that you can ask them one thing, can you list all the factors of the number 45? Mm-hmm. And that will tell them and you whether they know how to do factors or not. Don't do 3 of them, just do 1. Same thing,
okay.
Same thing with multiples. If you can, it might be a couple, because there might be subtlety, but you don't have to do every variation on a theme.
Okay.
You just want to say, do you know how to do, factors?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And actually that's true. So either they know it or they don't. So I don't need 3 problems. I just need 1. And then maybe the practice would have more.
Or maybe in the first one, list all the factors of each number. Maybe have 2, 1 prime, 1 composite. So
okay.
Right.
I like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Although if they can do a composite, they know how to do factors. So
yep. Then you wouldn't
just want to know yes or no. Can you do this sub skill?
All right.
And then scroll down a little bit. Let me just see one more thing.
Yep.
And one other suggestion that I've found successful is when I create math problems or I number them, I use letters instead of.
Oh, that's right. Then the numbers wouldn't get messed up.
Some of the students will put list 5 multiples of each number. They'll put 1 and 8 together and be like 18, and then they'll start doing the multiples.
Makes total sense. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So, and scroll down again. Let me see.
Yep.
Now they're seeing all of this at the same time.
Seeing out the same time. It'd be printed theoretically on 3 sheets, like this. And I would tell them, okay, do this first. Mm-hmm. And then once you finished it, flip it over and you'd have the answers here.
Right.
And then this would be the directions if you missed the factors. And now I can see how letters would be better because they're like, number one was a factor. If they missed the first one, then they would do it on the, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. Then they do the problem over here, except they'd have to flip the page.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not, now that I'm looking at it, it's not as organized simplistically as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so that's why I got it.
It may be that the checkup needs to be a separate thing. So you could throw something on a screen and have them write stuff down. Then you hand this out and you say, here's the correct answers, and maybe separate, list the factors of each number, and then, you know, what happens if you got that wrong, do this. And then, you know, the other
that
part,
makes sense.
Yeah, just so that it flows directly from this thing to that. Other than that, it's
okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes more sense. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to leave you guys alone, and let's reconvene. And it's almost 2:30 already. Okay. See you soon.
Yeah, in the beginning, I think I would maybe do. I think all the contracts. Larry, we were talking about like how you get all the. It's too much. So I think for myself, I would probably start off maybe having them do like maybe the homework as part of a contract to get their grade, have them choose their grade. I don't know in the beginning if I could kick off all of that at once to have them, I feel like, have you tried, I mean, I don't know if that makes sense. Like I like the layout, how you had to understand how they gave them a grade for each of their parts.
Yeah.
But I feel this is my first year doing it. Like for myself, I would pick one thing that I would use contracts with, whether it's homework or differentiation, and then they would that would be part. Like if let's say homework was what I focused on making contracts for them. Like they would evaluate their homework contract and give themselves their homework grade.
Okay, so we're talking about two separate things. The question of contracts, basically, you want to start as small as possible, and you want to only apply it when you really need to diverge, and some people are getting it and some people aren't, and you want them to differentiate. It's a tool for differentiation. The self-evaluation is as many parts of what you now give grades for, as many parts of that as you can to hand that over to them, as many parts as it's appropriate. For instance, if they take a test and I'm grading the test, I come up with the score for that test. That's not their business, that's my business. But if they do homework and you're asking them to pay attention, is this excellent homework? What you have to do is decide what are the factors that make up excellent homework. It's a good exercise in and of itself. And once you do that for homework, you've done it for all the homework, probably. And then at the beginning of the year, every time they do homework, you give them that sheet, they fill it out, they evaluate themselves. If you disagree with them and they think, you know, this is excellent work and you think it's mediocre, you can just circle the bits that they did not do. And it zeroes in for them what it is that's missing from excellent work.
Oh no, they understand, but I think I understand the homework evaluation. I think when you showed the whole thing, like the overview, when you did it like the classroom, because you were at that point where you got, you know, and you showed everything, like, oh, they got this 20%. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do it.
No. What I was trying to do is show you all the different forms there are. Yeah. I don't expect anybody to do the last 4 things that I showed you till year 2 or 3. I'm sorry, I should have made that clearer.
No, that's fine, because I already think for myself, our first book is Data About Us, and every year they do their own data project, and that would be nice. I think I would create a value tool that they can grade themselves on, so I don't have to grade projects, or maybe they could even grade each, like they would have to grade somebody else's too, based on maybe the form or something.
Yeah, you can do that.
So that in my mind, I would just do that. I'm going to do that one task and maybe make a rubric or make the evaluative part based on that Data About Us project to start off.
Exactly. And this is also the kind of thing when you're working with other people, one person might take on evaluating a problem set, homework. Another person might say, I'm going to take on the project that they're going to do and come up with a criterion for what's excellent work for that. And somebody else might throw in something else. And you use each other's work. You steal shamelessly and you share and you get the thing going faster. If you're doing this by yourself and you have to invent all these things for yourself, it takes a long time. And there's a lot of trial and error. So sharing is really good. But getting them to do the thing that they do most commonly, like homework, for instance, and getting them to evaluate themselves on that frees up a lot of your time. So there's a bigger payoff for things that they do all the time than for things they do rarely. So I would aim for, getting them to self-evaluate the thing they do most of.
Yeah.
More time for you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So every class period, you wouldn't, maybe not every class period, but every chunk of time, you wouldn't give a mini contract to kind of direct the class. So they would come in and have a checklist of things. You would give a mini contract only when it was necessary to differentiate a particular skill.
Certainly.
Then,
in the beginning, or in the beginning, when you're first using these things, you use them surgically for those moments where you want to spread out and have them doing different things at the same time. It's the scaffolding for them to do different things at the same time. It can serve all kinds of other purposes down the road, eventually, where it defines all the work that, in my system, it defined all the work they would do in an entire unit, a 2 or 3 week unit, all the things that everybody had to do and all the things that were optional. But that evolved over like an 8-year period, because I had to invent it all by myself. So initially, I would definitely not do this every day. I think of these things as popping up. How often are you in the situation where they've spread out and they don't, you need them to do different things? How often does that happen? It's not every day, right? So
I guess maybe I was thinking about them wrong. I guess I was thinking about them as tools to help lead and direct the class, right? So kind of a to-do list, but I think it would work better the way that you're suggesting and would be easier for me to implement if it was just maybe a once a week thing and maybe do what Maria's saying, do homework and then maybe a mini contract once a week for differentiation or a big ticket or thing. Yeah.
Right. You can also decide that you're going to do, what's going to happen in the course of this week. And so you create a little contract that covers all the required work and all the optional work for a week. But the first time through, you're probably not going to know all that stuff ahead of time. Maybe you do, but that's hard to do. So do it with, to accomplish a specific task. I want to make sure that kids who need practice at this point can do it, and kids who are starting to be bored will go off and do something else. And that's what my mini contracts are for. All right? Okay. So keep talking. I don't want to interrupt. Did you guys, do you have a sense of what you're going to work on for next week?
I kind of accidentally already did all of the self-evaluation options. So.
Accidentally, huh?
Some free time on my hands.
Yeah, well, okay, that's great. Now you're already done with your homework. How about the rest of you? Do you have a good sense of what you want to do, how you want to use self-evaluation, and what you want to work on? Remember, all of these things are to get ready to have something practical to use when you walk into the classroom or when you connect with them on the computer.
It's got to be a tool that gives the kids ownership in what they're doing.
Yes.
So that's the thought I have right now, and how do I implement that?
Yeah. Well, you want to be specific at this point. Is it going to be about homework? Is it going to be about recovering from a test? Is it going to be about, what is it that I want them to really stop and internalize what makes excellent work? What makes it great?
I'm almost at the point of how do they be an excellent student first, right? I have students that come with nothing, and I want to emphasize really coming prepared to learn.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a self-contained 7th grade math class that it's usually filled with some tough kids, as in they've had the short end of the stick, and they don't know how to be good learners.
Yeah. Well, the same thought too, Dan. Like, I didn't know if I felt like it was more important to focus on those types of skills rather than like the math skills that, the learning goals or whatever. And so, when I was making mine, I definitely steered more towards those types of things.
Okay. So my thought process isn't off. It's on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's whatever it is you think would be most useful for both them and you.
Right.
To hand over the power of this. If what you're saying is, well, and let me say one other thing. The issue that you're talking about when you have kids who have just been hammered by school and hate school when they walk in the door, the only antidote that I know for that is the classroom culture that gives them a sense of belonging.
Yes.
It's home here. This is a safe space. We're all in this together. And these people around me, they've got my back. And so, with those kids, you really want to focus on culture building at the start of the year.
Okay.
Even if it requires tossing lots of curriculum out the window, building a sense of camaraderie is, without that, you can't do the other stuff.
Right.
Kids, right? But evaluation, you can definitely have them evaluate, like we've seen a couple of examples already. How well have you participated in this? How well have you collaborated? How well have you, been ready to do the work? How well have you used your time in class?
How well are you doing what we're doing? No matter what we're doing, how well are you doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How on task have you been?
Yeah. Okay.
The question, but the issue, I think, Dan, is whether they're going to see that as, if you're giving them the challenge of evaluating their own homework and saying, this is excellent work. I made some mistakes, but I got in my group and we corrected them and I fixed all that in my homework. It's now excellent homework. That gives them a reward for understanding what excellent work is, accomplishing it, and having the power to decide this was excellent. When you're talking about how good a student have you been in here today? How well have you collaborated? How motivated have you been? How engaged have you been in the conversation? It's harder because if they hate school, those things are reminders of what they're not good at.
Yeah.
And that's, self-evaluation has to be a kind of liberation for them. Instead of you doling out points, they're deciding on their own what they're getting. And most kids appreciate having that power. The kids you're talking about, that may not appeal to them in the same way.
Right.
And especially if it's about them. But I guess what I have found is the more the topic is about the students and less about the content, the more they start to feel like this is a human endeavor and we're human beings in a room together.
Yes.
So focusing on, this, you focus on them as human beings, they respond to that because they can see that you're interested in them, not jamming stuff down their throats.
Right.
I used the one rubric that you did show about like participation, time management, organization, like that one. And I wondered, Dan, if you use something like that and maybe still use like organization, but change the things underneath it of what it looks like to be organized that are manageable things that you think your kids are doing to maybe try to boost their confidence. Like, oh, I did bring a pencil today. I did, you know, and maybe just make those little blurbs so you can keep the title the same, you know what I mean? But how do they get there might look different for your kiddos. And then
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that totally. So if you're doing that kind of self-evaluation, you decide what the big things are that you care about, that you think are important for them to internalize. And then you figure out for each one of those. So participation, you know, the ability to work well with others. And under each one of those, come up with, you know, I came up with 3 questions that helped define, if you're doing this all the time, you're participating well. If you're doing that all the time, you're participating well. And have them decide for themselves how often they're doing it. Especially if you frame it as, when we leave school, there are certain things that if we can do them well, we'll be successful in life. And if we can't, it's going to be a struggle. I want you to have these attributes, to be self-reliant, to be able to handle, you know, making a mistake and not falling apart, to be able to work well with other people. I want you to have those skills, and we're all going to be working on those all year. And so I'm going to ask you to tell me how well you did on that thing so we can work on it together. And if you frame it in that way, then it isn't asking them to judge themselves. It's like, what do we need to work on here? What are the issues that are getting in the way? I don't know if that's helping or.
It's helping.
Yeah. Well, you know, try to put something together for next week.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look at it. And if you get it to me, I'll try and give you commentary, you know, before.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, I think I'm going to jump out and see how much time we got. When did I say we would get together again? I didn't notice.
Sorry, like it's 3:11.
It's 3:11 now, so maybe 3:25 or something. Would that? Do you guys need more? I mean, how much more time do you think you need to talk? Are you in good shape now? 5 more minutes? 10 more minutes? What do you think?
I feel like if we had more time, we will talk. If we need to be done because there's more things to do, I feel like
we're done.
Is what it is.
Yeah, okay. When we say, I'll just send out a text to everybody. Let's finish at 3:25. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, see you in a bit. Bye. Hello. Anybody?
Hello. Hi. Oh, we're furiously working away on these things.
Excellent.
That's why nobody responded.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
That's excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Sorry to interrupt. Do you want to take another, I don't know, 15 minutes or so? Would that be good? So
that'd be good. I'm on a roll.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's say we'll reconvene at 3:30.
Okay.
Okay. And then because I want to do a little more talking, and then we're going to have more time to do whatever you want. So
cool.
All right. So I'll send a message out to everybody. Actually, were you guys working individually and not talking to each other? Is that what was?
We started talking to each other, and then we kind of went.
Let me just sit with you for a minute, and I'm going to send a message to everybody that will reconvene at 3:30.
Okay.
But don't let me interrupt you. Sorry. So did you guys get that message?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Tell you what, I'm going to jump out and join another group. See you in a bit.
And now with remote learning, I realized I might as well create one because more than I don't know what's going to happen. We might get there. So I might change some of the evaluation of what the kids have to do. basically, did they do this? Did they do this? Did they do that? Just to keep them, because that was one of my problem with my kids, is that they didn't realize that they weren't doing anything. And then no matter how many times we created on Google Form, Google Classroom, no matter how many categories we had, they're like, what? There's homework, and then there's also this, and there's a video. Like, you can create your own little lovely calendar, topics, whatever. They were so confused because they never realized by missing a week, they missed a lot. So I'm thinking now the self-evaluation, I'm going to base it on the kind of work I'm going to give for remote learning, so they can see, oh, okay, these are the assignments we have to do. They were posted on Google Classroom, but seems like they just needed one place to look at everything. Does that make sense? I don't know. Did you guys have a problem with that with your kids? That most of the time they just didn't do the work?
Yeah. And I feel like it was like the same kids for the entire time of remote learning. And and like you said, like you could create as many checklists and as like individualized learning plans for them. But half the time like half the battle was just getting them to show up or like open up their iPad. So yeah, I can.
Did you guys have required office hours at 9 a.m. for math?
I had 3 required times because we teach 3 classes double. My first one was at 9:30, and most of my kids were asleep. That's what I would hear from them. Parents actually reached out to our principal and said that we want our child to be asleep. We don't want them to wake up too early because I have work. I can't have a child at 9 o'clock up while I'm working at a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, we had the issue that in our building, all math, it was by subject. Was when the office hours should be, right? So math would be at 9 a.m. Then language arts 10, and then so on. And so I know some teachers decided to say, oh, we're not going to do 9 a.m. We're just going to open it up to the entire day. Some math teachers chose to do that, and they had more kids. But for me personally, I had to stick to 9 a.m. because I'm more of a rule follower, and no kid complained. They mostly did work by themselves. But I do think I lost a lot of kids who needed individual teacher attention, and they did not reach out to me. I tried to reach out to them multiple times, and there was no success. So I felt it was very frustrating for me as their teacher to not have access to help them in a timely way, because we were required to have 9 a.m. office hours.
And that could be on one of the questions, like one of the criterias.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask for students? It wasn't required for students, right? Was that a district thing? It wasn't required for students to be at the office hours?
Right, it was optional, I thought.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Was it optional?
We were required to give it during those times, allotted time slots based off of what our schools told them.
Yeah, we had the same thing. We had a required time as teachers. But most of the math were in the afternoon. I had one where it was always a morning time. I had nobody show up because it just because of the time. It was 9:30, and I knew that it's probably the worst time.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I probably should have said, "Hey, you guys want to change it?" But anyway, but it just no one came because of the time.
And I think you brought up a good point, Julia. It wasn't required for students to go to office hours. I feel like if we are doing remote learning this year or blended or something, they must make it a requirement for kids to come see their teachers for 30 minutes or something, because I feel like we just don't, we lose them when we don't see them.
Right.
I thought it was required, but nothing happened to the students if they didn't come.
Right.
Mine was different where they went by class periods. So I had 3 different times.
Oh.
That's how they did it. Unfortunately, so that's why teachers had to stick to that schedule, because if a teacher decided to do it at another time, would be during my time, which didn't help. But yeah, now that I think about it, I do want to create a self-evaluation for the students to see, just so they can see with remote learning, because there are so many activities we're asking them to do, whether it's a video or the worksheet that goes with the video or the challenge work. That's gonna be hard to make. Yeah. I don't want to add another paper.
Yeah, Valentina, one thing I'm not understanding. you're talking about trying to compile a simplified set of directions for them to what they need to do.
Yes.
That sounds more like, you know, part of a contract that says, here are the activities. Maybe they're on certain days, maybe it's for the whole week, maybe it's for the next 3 days, but all the activities. But the self-evaluation piece, if they're watching a video, there would be one kind of self-evaluation on that. If they're doing a problem set, there would be a different kind of self-evaluation on that. So the question is, you've got this range of activities that you want them to do. This assignment is about picking one type of activity.
Okay.
Watching a video, for instance. What do you expect? What does an excellent job of watching that video look like? Are they taking notes? Are they summarizing it when they're done? Are they evaluating how well they understood it? You know, what are they doing that makes for excellent video watching, if that's the task? You see what I'm saying? And that would be very different than if you're having them do a problem set. What does an excellent job of that look like? You know, if they do a problem set, what you want for them by the end is that they've completed all the problems and they've all been corrected if they got anything wrong, and they did it on time before they got together with their group, so they were ready to do the work. Those are the components of doing excellent work for a problem set. But doing something else, if you have like 5 different activities, different types of activities, it may be that you need a different way to evaluate each one. Because what makes for excellent video watching is different than what makes for excellent problem solving. Is that making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you might have 2 different things here. One of which is later on, we'll talk about proto contracts where you just make a list of all the things as you're going along, all the things that they could do. And to put that into one place is actually useful for kids. So they can see, okay, here's all the things that I can possibly do for the next week. It's hard to do that ahead of time though. You really have to know what you want to do and put all of it together and create the format for it. And but for next week, I would say try to focus on one type of work and figure out what makes that excellent. How will they, you know, internalize that? How can I get them to pay attention to that?
Okay. So I was confusing. No, yeah, I think I was confusing my self-evaluation with a learning contract.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. And eventually they can all come together, but not at first. At first you want to do this little bit and that little bit and that little bit, and eventually they become seamless. Yeah. All right. So I was telling everybody we reconvene at 3:30. That's only 6 minutes from now. There's not enough time. You guys need time to talk to each other. All right, I'm going to leave you alone, give you a few minutes to yourself here. Maybe you want to take a break or something, and we'll reconvene in a few minutes. See ya.
Right. Thanks. Contract and a self-evaluation on 2 separate things. I want my kids to be checking off that they did something and evaluating at the same time. And like, I'm having a hard time. I get the difference. I'm just stating, I don't know if I feel the value in really separating them. If I'm really wanting to teach metacognition, especially for some of my kiddos that really just can't yet, and having a hard time being like, yep, you check something off. Great, now move on. As an adult, I can kind of do that. But
yes,
as
I don't know if you've, are you using the Desmos curriculum? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because something to note, if you haven't seen it yet, is every single Desmos lesson, I think, has that cool down, right?
I went through every single one in my mini contracts that I'll send access to you because I know you're in my school. I teach 7th grade, and I know it does. I just like for my kiddos that need more direction on like the why, and then go from the why. Okay, so if I have this is what I then need to do in the mini contracts. I'm just having a hard time differentiating. I want them to be able to like not just check a button. I want them to be able to explain why and then go from there. Like if I really didn't understand something, I can't teach it. I can't explain it. What do I do? Or like I kind of get it. Now what do I do? Because that's what they don't know how to do. And like they need my kiddos need more direction. And so like how do I help them get there through these mini contracts that aren't just checking off a box? That's where I'm like torn and and I get, like I said, I get it, I understand it, but like I could see them looking at that slide on Desmos and being like middle, and then like great, okay, you know.
No, that's very valid. I see where you're coming from. Like very targeted, like direction for the kids. Yeah.
A lot of my friends in the special ed world, and not in the gen ed too, don't know how to do that yet. And I mean, I personally needed probably more direction when I was younger, and then I built in that internal motivation. So I'm trying to think of like the kids that don't have that. How do we get them to really start thinking about their thinking, which in metacognition is really hard.
Yeah. So are you saying, sorry to jump in here, but are you saying that you want to somehow merge this self-evaluation of how well do I understand this with the mini contract structure?
I just worry that they're just going to check something off because they like did it, and I want them to think about their thinking as they're doing it, which is what our homework is. Like, let's say number 1, right? You're teaching them how to think about their thinking. I just don't want to have too many things, right? I want to be able to have something where it's like, okay, I check this off. Now let me think about why I'm checking this off. And like, what about this? Am I checking it off? And I rather take the time and effort and have them do that in class than like, we're already halfway through the lesson and they really don't understand something. I want them to be able to say like, stop, I need help. Or like, here's what I really don't understand. Or, you know what, I really get this. I can teach it. I can explain it. And like,
that should be part of the, sorry to interrupt, but that should be part of the checkoff system.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's
what I'm saying.
We're in the same situation. And that when I talked with Larry earlier, it's just being very specific, very small almost in what you want to look for. So we can't look, we can look large, but it's really in a small sense of looking large.
I just think they're too young. I'm hoping that they get it quickly and they can develop it, and some kids totally can. I just don't think they're at that level yet as like a high schooler.
If everybody got everything, we'd be out of a job. So we are working as in we have this, and this, and we're trying to move. So it's the natural thing. We're fine. You're fine.
So
you're
one thing, none of the mini contracts that we've looked at so far have self-evaluation built into them. And you can do that where you have a checkbox, and to the left of the checkbox, the way I did it, there's a little dash, and they put a 1 through a 5 depending on how.
Which is what I did, yeah.
Right. So the only trick there is you have to teach them how to be metacognitive and to report that, and to be aware of whether they've done the process well and to report that.
I just think that's where we're at anyways.
Yeah, exactly. And then have them focus on that and give them feedback and then start to put that together in a package where they have a summary of all the things they did and how well they did them. But you have to teach them how to evaluate themselves first, both about metacognition and about doing the process well. It's 2 separate things. I don't know if that's helping, but whatever form you come up with for a mini contract, it can include that. You could have one for metacognitive, how well did you understand this while you were doing it? And another one is, how well did you do the process for each item?
Right. Well, because like people were definitely debating in our group between, mini contracts, again, like this is what they're for. And I only want to do self-evaluation once a trimester. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been down this road again as a special ed lens, where I have kids that are on my caseload, and other teachers then at the end of trimester say, here's their form they filled out, and they really don't understand anything, or like they really feel bad about themselves, and I'm like, isn't the point of learning about your own learning and understanding and cognitive, like being able to self-reflect along the way? And so then as a teacher, you can then come to the special education teacher or vice versa or whatever to talk about the kid as a whole throughout the whole way. And if you just give like the self-evaluation at the very end of a trimester, I have a hard time with that. And not maybe unit-based is one thing, but like we were very split between like, I'm going to give them this contract and checklist, and then they're going to self-evaluate at the end of the trimester. And I personally feel like that's too late. I don't know about anybody else, but I just, again, been down that road where it's like too late multiple times.
Feedback should be happening every day in every direction you can imagine it. And self-assessment should be happening on a very regular basis.
How often do you send out point sheets with your kids? What regular ed teachers had to fill out a point sheet on a daily basis? So we can ask we ask the kids to fill out. In this process, it's making me think the kid is going to start filling it out. Maybe we have the teacher fill it out, not on a daily, but on a weekly.
I send out a weekly email, a weekly teacher form, like Google form, exactly what you're saying, Dan, every week.
Yeah. So
do I get them back?
Do it every day. And then if you have a support time, you match those up.
Right.
Yeah. And as a gen ed teacher that has had a co-teacher many times in my room, daily point sheets for students that a teacher is expected to fill out, I forget 3 to 4 days a week.
Right.
Unless they remind me. So
totally.
I prefer an email on a Friday with a Google form that's like click, click, click.
That's what I do every Wednesday. But like the date, like if a kid does need a daily sheet, hence what I was saying earlier, again, independent on a specific kiddo, if they're used to filling out these sheets and metacognitive thinking, they have to fill that out themselves, and they're in charge of their own. Well, right. And so like, that's the whole idea, is teaching them how to do this.
Mm-hmm. It's hard. Yeah.
That's why I'm just like, Larry, I don't know, mini contracts, thinking, how do I make it more cohesive and streamline and go from there?
Yeah. Well, that's what the summer is for. You give it your shot. You try and come up with something. We critique it. We work on it. And I'm going to be around all summer, available to talk to whoever wants to talk to me as you're developing these things on a one-on-one or a small group basis. I'm going to invite everybody to do that because you need support with this. You need to try to come up with ideas and then get feedback from other people about how to make it better. These are all great questions, and you're going to struggle with it, and you're going to come up with something, and it'll work mostly, and then you'll make it better, and then you'll make it better. After 20 some odd years of doing this, my last year, I was still tweaking things, still trying to figure out how to do it better. It never ends, you know. Okay, well, we're almost out of time. Let me jump out of here and join one last group. So I'll see you guys next week. Hi, everybody. Are you, what are you guys doing? Looks like you're all doing something.
We are working on all of the feedback we've been gathered throughout this whole thing, and putting together our homework for our.
Oh, okay. All right, just checking.
So Larry, although we wanted to be in this group, the problem is that we can't work collaboratively a lot because we're all doing something different.
Yeah.
In terms of what we're doing so that we can use it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the idea is to brainstorm, you know, bounce ideas off each other, but you have to do the individual work when you get home, you know, later. obviously.
Right, but you know, when you said get together, and we didn't really need to talk anymore. I mean, like our group, when we did this activity, we were done in 10 minutes with the talk part, and
Wow.
you gave us a half hour.
Okay. Well,
just so you know, for the future.
I appreciate that. In the future, when that happens, tell me.
How? You know, oh, just send you a.
Yeah, chat. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing as to how long you guys want to talk to each other. It's a guess. So if you're done, let me know. We can do something else. Okay. One thing I did want to say to everybody is that you're going to be developing these things not just before the school year, but for years to come, most likely. You'll be trying different things and adapting them. But what I want you to know is that I'm going to be around all summer. If you are developing things and you want to talk to me about it, we can do this Zoom stuff. You can just email me something and ask for comments. Whatever you want, I'm here to support you. And the same thing will happen when the school year starts. As you implement one of these things and, you know, it melts down in some way, you get in touch with me. We work the problem, figure out how to adjust it. And I will support you as best I can as you implement whatever you implement. That's true throughout the rest of the summer, and it'll be true in the school year as well. So just so you know, you don't have to make it right perfect now. It's going to evolve. And the first time through may be rough, but you do the best you can. So, well, we're almost out of time. I wanted to thank you all again for showing up today. And I'll be sending you all the forms and everything as PDFs. And I'll see you next week.
You know, Larry.
Great. Thank you, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
If everything that we're doing is already in Google, I'm not sure you really need to put it in the chat. All the forms that you send us, if it's already in.
It is in the, yeah, I've got them all in the drive. So I guess you're right. I guess people can just go to the drive and pick them up. Do you think everybody knows to do that? I'll send an email saying that's where they are.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. All right, see you next week.